Good evening, my Rabbi Sai. Welcome back. It's almost Rosh Chodesh Elul. Time to start once again back to learning Torah. Vacation is over. Hopefully nobody took a vacation from learning Torah, but we took a little break from our regular schedule, and now we're back. It's Rosh Chodesh.
One other Ekev that we did, I told you, other than the one that you sent.
Yeah.
Practice even Ray we've done before.
Weiß nicht. Zera Shimshon, we're going to do two pieces on the inyan of tzedakah. We'll begin on page Shin Mem, letter Yud. We'll be doing two pieces tonight, letter Yud and letter Zayin, and they're linked together. First of all, tonight Zera Shimshon Shir is sponsored by Sam Koenig in honor of the wedding of his children Menachem Mendel and Miriam Zelda. The chasana was Tuesday evening. Mazel Tov. The chasana kala should be zeicha to be bain abayis neman b'Yisrael. Morty Eisenberger is sponsoring a co-sponsor Leila Nishmas, his Rosh Hashiva and his Rebbe Rebero Wine Scheiner Levracha. I happen to have been at the Levaya on this Sunday, and I was also Menachem Avel in Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Wine was a Rosh Hashiva and a Rav where everyone could feel connected. He was everybody's Rebbe. He was such a demus, such a figure, and so knowledgeable in Torah. Klal Yisrael has a big loss with the loss of Rabbi Wine, Zechron Levracha. Like I told his son Chaim, he was so knowledgeable in Torah. He was so clear, and he was so well learned that you had the confidence that if you had a shaila, you could always go to him and get an answer. You felt the yitzivus, you felt the firm foundation of a Talmid Chacham who could tell you or anyone whatever you needed to know. He was that type of Talmid Chacham in everything. So our shir should be Le'iloid, since it's being sponsored and Shmosa is Olazan for Eman Aliyah. Rev Doiv Beryl Ben Reb Chaim Zev. Neshama Zol Haben An Aliyah. Ish Kemat Nas Yodai, the last pasuk in this week's parsha. Ish Kemat Nas Yodai Kebirchas Hashem Elokecha Asher Nosan Loch. It says, Shalosh Pamim Bashana, 3 times a year a person should come. And it says, Ish Kemat Nas Yodai Kebirchas Hashem Elokecha Asher Nosan Loch. Pshat of the pasuk is referring to the mitzvah of Aliyah L'Regel. And the amount that a person should spend is based on Kemat Nas Yodai, as much as the Eibishter gave him. Kibirchas Hashem Elokecha, the Matnas Yodai of the Rebbeinu Shloim, the Baruch of Hashem, Asher Nosan Loch, that he gave to you. Asks the Zera Shimshon, there's repetition in the pasuk. Let's look at that pasuk. Ish kematnas yodoi, whatever matana was given to him, kebirchas Hashem Elokecha, as the bracha. Isn't that a double lashon? Freik the Zera Shimshon. Again, page Shin Mem, letter Yud. Yesh ledakta kamay itzstruch milas ish. Why is the word ish necessary in the pasuk bechlal? Kematnas yodai. Umao kefo kematnas yodai kebirchas Hashem Elokecha. What's the double lashon? V'oid. And a third question. The pasuk changes gears in the middle. The pasuk begins talking Beloshan Nistar, and then is talking Beloshan Nimtza directly, meaning, look at it, pay attention to the pasuk. Ish kematnas yodoi, the way he was blessed. That means we're talking about him Beloshan of third person. The way a person was blessed. Kibirchas Hashem lekecha asher nosan loch. That's to you. That's direct. That's first person. Zotomeret. We must be talking about two different people. If there's a reference in the pasuk, Birchas Yodoi, Kematnas Yodoi, and then there's Loch, so it's talking about two different scenarios. Explains the Zera Shimshon. Lefi sheyesh ba'olam shtei minei anoshim. Sedot Tzvei Sorten Menschen. There are two types of people. Yesh mi, we're talking about financially. Yesh mi shemazoloi goyrem loi shenosnoi loi min hashamayim oisher v'nechosim v'kavoid yoiser ma'atzorach lemichyasoi v'lemichyas anshe beisoi. So do Baruch Hashem mention that the Eibishter gives them way more than they themselves need, than their family needs, than their mishpoche. There is a person which Baruch Hashem hataguta mazel, could have a good mazel, might not be the smartest person. What did one time Mr. Reichman, Zechron Levracha, once said? He said, business is 99% mazel, 1% seichel. If I could take the 1% seichel and get noch a bissel of mazel, I would trade that in as well too. But every bit of mazel is Baruch Hashem. Okay, talking about mazel, I just want to wish mazel tov to our Jonathan, Baruch Hashem, who over the last 2 weeks that we were gone made the chasanas of 2 einiklach, Baruch Hashem. Yeah, Baruch Hashem. I was zoichet to be I missed the wedding, but I was zoichet to be at Sheva Brachas. I missed last night's shir because it was worthwhile to go to the Sheva Brachas. I felt that was... You don't have to ask Mechil. I have to ask Mechil for not being at the wedding. But Baruch Hashem, I also learned how important it is, and I share this with the Olam. Sometimes you never know. You go to a Simcha, you go to a Shiva, Lahavdol. Should I go, should I not go? It makes a very big difference when you show up. Never second guess the idea of whether you should go or not. You should always go. Showing up makes a big difference. Makes a very big difference. And I was happy yesterday I had to cancel 3 shiurim and 1 dinner meeting to go to the Sheva Brachas, which was at the other side of the world in New York. But it was worth the whole thing. It was worth it just to see the simcha on the face of the family, Baruch Hashem. In the rain, so it was Cedarhurst was like you needed a boat instead of a car. But I want the Olam to know that it's the right thing, then it's a lesson. We sometimes don't understand how important it is to show up by someone else, whether it's a simcha or whether it's an avelus, you show up, it makes a huge difference, the support that the person gets. So, Baruch Hashem, we should be zoicha to much more mazel tovs by all of us. Mi shemazlei goyim loy, shenoslei min hashamayim, the Eibishter gives him Oisher, Nechusim, Kavod, Yosem Atzarech Lemechiyasem, Mechas Anshe Beisai. What did the Rebbeinu Shem give the person so much for? Why did he give it to you? To share it. The Teretz is Avada to share it, right? You know what he's called, says the Zera Shimshon? He's called a loive. He's a loive. The Rebbeinu Shem gave it to him, and he lent it to him. The Baruch Hashem, a mazeldika person who has more than he needs, than he or she needs to support themselves and their family. So what they wish to give it to you. You don't need that much. The teretz is he's empowering you. You owe it to Hashem to be a shliach to help others. So in a sense, that person is a loive. He's a loive. He's borrowed. A kimpt. He owes it to the Eibishter. V'yesh min acher shel anoshim. You have other people. They're the middle class. Shall noi nosanam HaKadosh Baruch Hu rak ma'at mezeh kedei chayoisam betzimtzum. They have enough, what we call in Ivrit, ligmor et hachodesh. Im matzlichim. They have just enough to finish the month. That's about it. Go be there, right at the end of the month. Gamarti et hachodesh. Lo nichnasti la'ot chovot. Right, I finished the month. There are clearly two kinds of people who Baruch Hashem have berevach and people who have betzimtzum. A fellow who doesn't have anything extra, in a certain sense, doesn't owe the Eibishter anything, says the Zera Shimshon. Wow. You know why? Because the Eibishter, he obligated himself, noisen lechem l'chol basar, ki lo olam chazdei. As it says, Gemara says, a hafla of a fellow, I think it was Turnus Rupus, who said to Rebbe Kiva, the Gemara Baba Basra, the Kadosh Baruch Hu created people, and he created them with the need to be sustained. Isn't it his responsibility to do it? Shouldn't the Eibishter be achroi? Hashem Yisbarach, you made us, and you made us not self-sufficient, you made us deficient. We can't take care of ourselves. We need to be mifurnas. We need to eat, we need to sleep, we need to drink, we need tmicha, we need parnosa. Right? Poiseach es yodecha. Open up your hands and feed us. Shtok de Zera Shimshon ha'adarabba. Kvar nischayiv ha'mokoim litein dei mechiyosoi. The Eibishter was mechayiv himself to take care of us. Tichsiv noisen lechem l'chol basar. V'ksiv mazbiya l'chol chai rotzen. It's the Eibishter's job. So when a person has bitzimtzum, so, in a sense, says the Zera Shimshon, you can't call him a loiva that he borrowed from Hashem, because the Eibishter said, I'm going to give you what you need, and you have b'diuk what you need. You don't have any extras.
Tzimtzum means what? Enough?
Tzimtzum means exact. Exact. B'diuk. By the way, the cheshbon of Shabbos and Yom Tov is not on the cheshbon. Schad lematu. That's already above and beyond. That's not part of the cheshbon. When it talks about Rosh Hashanah in 30 days, Bezus Hashem, how much is going to make, not including schar for the children or we take care of grandchildren, or right, or for Shabbos Yom Tov, that's a separate cheshbon. Al Koponim, there are two types of people. Says the Zera Shimshon. Next page, Shin Mem Aleph. Kineged min hasheni, the second person who has just what he needs, betzimtzum, he is referred to ish. Hu lo loive, hu ish, kematnas yodoi, lefi shenikra ish dahainu gvir va'adon. You know, there's this very funny situation. You have the poor person, but he's a mensch, because in a sense, Eibishter, you can't expect me to give away thousands of dollars to tzedakah. I don't have it. I just have what I need. I have exactly what I need. Ligmor tachodesh. Zeh ma sheyesh li. So the Zera Shimshon, he's called Ish. He's called Ish. K'mo Ish nomi. Shaharei ein lo rak kedei mechiyasi v'sipukoi ve'ein lo loive nechasa ve'ein meshubadim. He's not considered a loive and he's not meshubed. V'zeh yiten k'fi matnas yodoi. He gets according to what was given to him. He has to give tzedakah. Even an ani has to give tzedakah. Allah gave him tzedakah. Everyone has to give tzedakah. Everyone has to give meiser. Yeah, there ain't a but.
So the is after all the tzedakah.
What's that?
So the tzimtzum is after all the tzedakah.
The tzimtzum is with the tzedakah, after the tzedakah. That's all he's got.
And the loiva is from
The loive is the rich person,
Right.
says the Zera
Right.
Shimshon. The loive, right? Omnom kineged amin harishan. He says it inside, Mayor. Min harishan shenikra loiva v'nechasav nischayv u'al zeh mekabirchas Hashem lakecha. He was given the bracha. I'll tell you, once there was one of the Rebbes, the Sajigera Rebbe, from the previous one, used to have two balabatim. Aniyim would come to him, almonas, all types of people come to the Rebbe. Rebbe, chtaf machen chasana, Rebbe, I need this, Rebbe, and where did the Rebbe have money from? So the Rebbe had designated gevir, a couple of them. And he would tell the person who come to him, go to this and this person, and they'll give you. Once there was a story about a woman. She had two boys that became chasanim. She was an almona. She had no husband, and Baruch Hashem, both of her kids became salmona. Yerushalayim Medika almona. Two of her sons became chasanim. She had no way to marry them off. And she went to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe said, you should give what was back then considered $5,000, told her to tell this gevir should give 5,000 for each boy. Should be able to make chasana. So she went to the gevir. A gevir was having a hard time at that time, and he gave her half, 2.5 for each boy. He gave chetzi. A week later, he had a big mapola in his business. And he lost a schumra. He chapped right away that it was connected. He realized immediately. It didn't take such chochma to us. He came to the Rebbe. And he says, Rebbe, I'm sorry. He said, Rebbe, I'm sorry. If I would have known how important it was, then I would have stretched myself. So the Sajigor Rebbe Gezok, my tire, you're making a big mistake. You're making a big mistake. You think that you're giving from your money. You think you're giving for yourself. People don't come to you the way they come to me. They come to me for the money. They come to the Rebbe, he said. By Chabnisht. So the Rebbe should put my money by you. I'm the one who has to give the tzedakah. It's my guilt that I have to give out by you. As long as you were listening to me, you were a good Scheiner, so mamela, you give now. Don't worry, I already found somebody else to give my money. Says the Zera Shimshon, you have as much as you need. So what do you have more for? The Teretz is the Rebbeinu Shalom wants to be mezaka us with the opportunity to be a tzinor, to be a pipe, to give shefa to other people. That's our schus that we have. As a matter of fact, the Lashon of the Gemara says, Eved loiveli ish malve. The Rebbeinu Shalom says, when there's an ani and he doesn't have enough, and you're helping him out, you're doing my job. The Maharal says, why is it that tzedakah tatzel mimoves? What's the pshat? Tzedakah, giving tzedakah, it saves a person from death. What's the pshat? Zogt meir gut ani chashav kemeis, right? Aber sasach tifer. It's much deeper than that. Like we said beforehand, the Rebbeinu Shalom's job, he created the world, he created us, he has to sustain us. He has to give us the michya, the mozon, he has to take care of us. He is known as Chei Ha'olamim. He is the source of life of the world. When the Rebbeinu Shalom created the world, he gave people the opportunity to do his job. The Rebbeinu Shalom says, I have to take care of them. I'm going to give you the opportunity to help take care of somebody else. This way, you become the source of life to that person. You become the Chei Ha'olamim for that ani. through you that ani could live. If you're the source of life, then you won't die. Tzedakah tatzal memavis. Hoschavegelek, let me sagen in Yiddish. Hoschavegelek, you put yourself in a matziv of being the source of life. A source of life does not die. Death kleptzach nicht. Einer was is a source of chayim, a mekor shel chayim, tzedakah. Because it became a source of life. That says the Zera Shimshon. Continues the Zera Shimshon. So these are the two people. That's what it means. The Pasuk said, on the one hand, ish kematnas yodoi. There's one person who was given as much as he needs b'tzimtzum. Then kebirchas Hashem lakecha shenosan loch, that he gave you. Meaning to say that there is a special connection where a person becomes empowered by the Eibishter to be able to be a source of life for others, giving a person more above and beyond. Now, I know what everybody's thinking here. How do you get to being in category 2? I'd like to be the lave of the Eibishter. For that, we have another Zera Shimshon. We have Zera Shimshon Zion. Let's go back one page where he once again in a short piece discusses the inyan of giving to others. Take a look, Rabbi, on page Shin Lamed Ches, a small Zera Shimshon. We're doing, as I said in our introduction, we're doing two of them. Letter Yud, and now we're going to do letter Zayin, and they connect together beautifully. No sign tit, and the pasuk, the Torah Kedosha says, Perek Tezvav pasuk Yud. Listen to the Lashon. No sign titein loy. The double Lashon, give, no sign titein. V'lo yera levavcha besiten loy. Your heart shouldn't feel bad. Lo yera levavcha. Lo yera levavcha. You shouldn't feel bad when you give him. Besitcha loy, when you give them. Ki beglal adover hazeh yivarechecha Hashem alekecha. For this thing, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving you a bracha. Let's take a look at the Zera Shimshon. There are many diukim in this pasuk. First of all, what's the notion of nosen titen? Question number 1. What's the double notion nosen titen? A. B. What does it mean to say that lo yera levavcha besitcha loy? You're going to feel bad when you give him. If you don't want to give him, don't give him. What does it mean you feel bad when you give him? Besit chaloi, then you're going to feel bad?
Because you think it's yours.
Right, is that, so, and ki beglal adober hazeh, because of this thing you have a bracha. This thing, not something else. Hazeh comes to be mamai, it's something else. Let's see the lotion inside. Yesh the doctor. Question number 1, why does it say nosen titen? Double lotion. When you're giving, it should have said, just give him and don't feel bad. Then don't give. What does it mean? Don't give, don't feel bad when you're giving. This way gives you bracha, the other one doesn't. What's going on? Zog Zera Shimshon v'yesh loymar. Yeshnei minei chiyuvim lasos tzedakah. There are 2 types of responsibilities in tzedakah. Earlier, we spoke about 2 types of people. One who could give a lot, and one who could only get b'tzimtzum, can't give more than a little bit. Now, we're going to talk about 2 different types of tzedakahs. One, which is the chiyuv, and one which is above and beyond the chiyuv. Let's see how the Zera Shimshon explains this. Yesh chiyuv shekol ish ve'ish mechuyev liten lefi hasogas yodoi. There's one concept of tzedakah, as much as the Eibishter gives you, the Misha Noisen HaKadosh Baruch Hu Nechasim Merubim, Chayiv Litein Meruba. The people who have more avados should give more because they could give more. The people who have less, some for them, they give what they can. And then there's another chiyuv, which is She'im hanesina lefi erech hanachosim like taspech letzarech aniyim. You sometimes have an ani who finds himself or herself in a really bad situation. Your 10% or your meiser isn't going to take care of it for them because unfortunately they need more. Lefi shehem merubim, or because it's a pidyon shvuyim. It's a spatial situation which the regular tzedakah is not going to cover the costs. There's one din of tzedakah mitzad the giver. He has to give his 10% or his 20%. That's the noisen. But sometimes if you look at it from the perspective of the mekabel, the receiver, for the receiver, their tzairich in this situation is great. She yitztarich harbe kegoin liftos beis hashever lohoitz beis hasurim. Oz, then people have to stretch themselves. Shekol odom yiten yoiser min haroy loyliten. I always say there was a fellow in Westport, wasn't from. He used to say, Rabbi, it only really counts for tzedakah when it hurts. When it hurts, right? That's when you get the real mitzvah. That's what he used to say. He was an investor, lived in Westport. He was a good fellow. When it hurts, he said, that's when, says the Zera Shimshon, Nimtza, Shamin shel chiyev harishon hu chiyev hechrechi. Well, first type of tzedakah is the 10%, the 20%. That's the hechrach. That a person has to give no matter what. We'll call it, that's a din of tzedakah mitzad the noisen. That's geben. You got, you have to give. But then, v'chiyav hasheni hu ritzoni. That's not hechrachi. You know, hechrach means ichmiz. Ritzoni means to say, I want. Right? V'hu chiyav lefi atzoyrach, because Yena needs it. Oy bazoi. This is the concept of nosoin titein. Zwei certain ginesinas. There's a nosoin and there's a titein. Nosoin, you give your 10%, gevaldik. You give your chiyav. But I can't promise you that you're going to get a super abundance of yeter. Keloimer, kol echad mechuyev liten mashenoisen loyamokoim. That's one. But keneged chiyav hasheni is titein loy. Nosain, and then there's titein loy. Loy davka lefi machseiroi, according to what is choser from him. Keneged zeh, the second chiyav, Oimer HaKosev, I know what you're thinking. I have to give him so much. I have to take so much. The second type of giving could cause a person to feel upset and feel ki'ilu and nitztmachos. He's using me. I'm giving. I gave. Do you know why? Ki beglal adovar hazeh yivarechecha. You want to get the big bracha? The first one, you give tzedakah, avad is good. The first one is chiyuvi. It's hechrechi. But over there, I can't promise you that you're going to get biglal hadover hazeh yivarecha. But when a person stretches himself, and I want to be mice of one point, which is a very big point. Sometimes a person can't give, but he could see that others should give. That makes us very uncomfortable. When your eyes remember the first time, one of my chaverim, I was just a younger man, went back to Los Angeles, and one of my friends asked me, one of the Yerushalayim Yidden, he said to me, Efshe kenst mechtina toiva. When you go to LA, and some of my chevra are there, maybe you fellows could raise money for me. I need some money. I remember thinking to myself, I'd just rather write him the check. The fact that I have to go to other people and start asking money from this, I felt so uncomfortable. Just let me give it to him. If I have it, I'll give it to him. But to go and ask others, when sometimes a person can't give, but he puts himself out for a chaver, if it's for a koilul, if it's for a chasen, if it's this, and then he asks other people. So then Chazal say, Godel ha-me'aseh yoser min ha'oisa. The person who is the doer and the maker and sees to it that other people should give has the koyach of even bigger than the one giving the tzedakah. Because here he is, he's extending himself for another yid, for another chaver, where it's so uncomfortable to do, but yet he does it anyway. So not always are we talking about the second chiyuv of tzedakah, when a person goes above and beyond the call of duty, where he has to write the check himself, but he can facilitate for others that someone else should do it, and he's putting himself out for that. Ki biglal adover hazeh yivarechecha kisha'ata noisen lefi erech memoincha. Let's finish off the Zera Shimshon. When you give according to your money, Einato yochol liot mitzapeh letashlum gemul oy letikvas pras sharikachoi v'oscho v'nikra k'may prias choy. When you do your amount, you can't necessarily get that big present. Omnom kishata tzorich litin lo yoyse mechayvcha. You have to give more than your chayv. V'kvi tzorich ha'ani, because the ani needs it. Oz, then ato yochol liyos mitzapeh letikvas pras. Then says the Zera Shimshon, you can get, you know what a pras is? A present. V'lechein omei ki beglal adover hazeh dafka ki achiv hasheni shetiten loy yivarecha Hashem aleikecha. Going from category A, which we saw in the first shtickle, which is a person who had mitzumtzum, and how did he get to category number B? Because he went above and beyond his means to do something which was really big. Like the fellow from Westport said, he's pushing himself. He's pushing himself above and beyond the limits. Biglal adover hazeh yivarechecha Hashem aleikecha. That's what the pasuk is coming to tell us. That type of tzedakah, there's no sign which you're giving, and then there's titein loy, which you give for yenim, which puts you in an uncomfortable position. Biglal adover hazeh yivarecha Hashem aleikecha. So me'al zoicha zayin be'ezras Hashem yizbarach. The Berger gives us opportunities again and again to be there for each other, to be there for Klal Yisrael. So the Berger is helping, we should be gebenched bechlal ubefrat